everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I am here, as always, with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
You want to talk about Better Call Saul and get it out of the way?
And then I'm going to talk about group coaching.
Okay, all right.
But Better Call Saul is exciting, yeah. So have you been watching it?
No, I haven't.
Are you waiting? Are you waiting for all the episodes so you don't have to wait?
I am. Do you know why? Because, oh my gosh, House of Cards has totally spoiled me.
Yeah.
Getting all the episodes at once, I now don't want to take in any other bit of entertainment.
Where you have to wait, yeah. Brad's the House of Cards, too.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great show. It will not disappoint you.
Is it? How does it compare to Breaking Bad? It is obviously, for those who don't know, Better Call Saul is the spin-off of Breaking Bad that follows the exploits of his attorney, Saul Goodman.
It's fantastic. I mean, these and this is just my opinion. I mean, if you go on the internet, you're going to see all kinds of stuff. But I would say the majority of the people that liked Breaking Bad also really enjoy, Better Call Saul. It's a prequel, so he's not Saul. He's somebody else. And I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but it's just really interesting. And
wait a minute. He's not Saul?
Not yet.
His name is not Saul? There's like an identity twist? It's the same guy, right? I mean, it's the same human. Yeah. Wow.
Right, but I'm not gonna give it away because you need to watch.
Now, Nikki.
So for entertainment purposes, one of the podcasts that I've been listening to is the Better Call Saul podcast. And it is fascinating because you get to listen to all of these, like Vince Gilligan and the actor who plays Saul, Bob. I'm sorry, I'm going to really crush on all of their names because I don't know all their names, but Kelly is the host and she's one of the editors and writers or something. I don't know. But anyway, basically this podcast is all of these brilliant people talking about the show and how they created it and all of this back scene stuff and how they made decisions on certain scenes and music, and the actors come on and and talk about their experience, and it is just the most fascinating podcast to hear, to see how this all comes together. I want to go back and actually watch the shows again because
that you feel like you've learned more about how they pull them together.
More. Yeah. But these writers for this whole series, for Breaking Bad and for Better Call Saul, I mean, they're brilliant. Everything is so thought out and it's just really clever. And I'll tell you one thing, in Breaking Bad, you don't really have a connection with Saul as much as, I mean, you do in the sense that he's funny and he's kind of just a slimy lawyer and, he's getting these people off and he's clever, right? So you like him, but you don't necessarily have a great sense of loyalty to him or whatever. But in Better Call Saul, I love this guy. You root for him and you fall in love with him almost immediately.
Well, I think it's a funny thing. Bob Odenkirk, the actor who plays Saul, has been around for a long time, right? And he's a fantastic comedian and writer, and he's just great. I mean, from his work on Saturday Night Live to Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Get a Life, Dennis Miller, Mr. Show with Bob and David. I mean, he has created so much great comedy that most people don't know about. I love that Breaking Bad and now Better Call Saul have given him such a high-profile platform as a lead actor. He is just funny. So great, talented guy.
Yes, and it's funny to listen to them in the back, on the podcast because they're totally funny and their real personalities really come out. I mean, it's awesome. It's really good. So if you're looking for entertainment, I mean, just pure entertainment, Better Call Saul is an excellent spinoff from Breaking Bad, and I totally understand, Pete, why you would want to wait because it is there's been a couple episodes where I'm just like, oh man, I just wish I could just get on Netflix and
just
have
flesh
that.
it out.
One more show. But I have to wait. Well, it's good stuff. So that's what I've been doing.
Did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, the sitcom?
I watched at the beginning of it, but then I lost interest and never really finished watching it.
All right. Oh my gosh. I watched through season 7 and then took a long break, and I just went back and finished 8 and 9, and the show ended after 9. And I just if you haven't watched it and you're interested in watching it, plug your ears, because I'm going to spoil it because I'm so wrecked by it.
Oh.
He meets the mother. Season 9 is all about their relationship, and then the last 2 episodes, the mother dies. Well,
don't we know that, though? Because
dies.
That's the very beginning of the show.
I don't remember that.
She's not there.
Well, she's not there, but we don't know why she... she might be just not in the room.
Yeah, that's true. I always kind of assumed...
You did? I never assumed that. I must be not wired right, because I know I'm not the only one who didn't assume that. And of course, then it ends and it supposedly wraps up with a nice bow. And as an older man, now he ends up with the right person. But oh my gosh.
Was the mother not the right person?
Well... The mother was the right person, but then she died, so there had to be another right person.
So there had to be another person that was right.
Yeah. So he ends up with another person that we'd known on the show in the character. So it was the last 2 seasons were really good, and I really enjoyed it. I have to admit, there were a couple of times I choked up a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, let's not go overboard.
All right.
So we're
not talking about TV anymore.
No, not anymore. It's a digital episode this week.
Yes, but before you do that, I got to just group coaching. This is it. This is it. Time. Yeah. In fact, actually, the deadline was yesterday because this will be on Monday. But I'm just going to say I'm going to be okay with this. That if you really still want to be a part of the group, just make sure you register today, and I'll let you in.
All right. All right.
But I gotta put that out there. The deadline has passed. However, today only.
For those listening who have registered, congratulations.
Yes.
And you'll be finding out more in the coming weeks.
If you haven't already, because I've already gotten actually in touch with some of the groups that I've already been able to form. So
awesome.
You may hear from me even before that last week if I have the group formed. So,
excellent. All right. So before we start talking digital, head over to TakeControlADHD.com, register for the group coaching, subscribe to the show. You can just enter your email address in the box on the website, and it'll make sure you don't miss a single episode of this very show. You'll just get a little email each week that says, hey, new show, here's the link. And then, find us on Twitter and Facebook at Take Control ADHD. We'd love to hear from you. You can call us at 503-664-4ADD and get your questions on the show. We would very much love to hear from you. So, all right, that's all the old business. New business.
We're like in a board meeting.
I need a gavel.
Exactly.
I would feel better with a gavel. So last week we talked all about
you,
the uncertainty and doubt, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that comes with learning big things about yourself. And I got
Thank you again for sharing.
Well, you're very welcome. And you made a point. You said, "Hey, what about what are these systems that you put into place when I was in my valley of rage and despair in order to pull out of it?"
What was your first step?
It's been long enough that I don't quite remember, but I do know. I remember that. I can tell you about the systems that I have now that have emerged from whatever I had done then.
Pick one system.
Well, okay.
One system to talk about, because we don't want to overwhelm people.
No, we don't. So I think I'm going to talk about 2, and one of them is going to be really much, much quicker, and it's even more technology related. So the first one I'm going to talk about is writing. One of the problems that I had before was I was not a very committed note taker, right? I would take notes and then forget about them, right?
You talking about note taking like in what? A meeting, a conference?
Yeah. Meetings, like things that I need to remember coming out of meetings, things I need to write down to
tasks
and things like that, right? And I would try to just cram it all into my head. And I had this, I loved getting things done, and so I fancied myself, a GTD guy. I knew all of the rules of GTD, but I didn't really follow them. And so, I followed them, but only so far, right? There was this big gap between.
Because let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
Do you think that because there were too many steps in GTD, or like where was the break-off point where you kind of stopped following that?
Well, it was the gap that exists between documenting what I have to do, right? Actually making notes and dumping them into my trusted system. So I had this trusted system that would very often just get empty because I would eventually work through everything, but I was not putting new things in because I was keeping those in my head.
Got it.
Right? And one of the things that I had to do to get over that was to learn to take better notes. And we've done whole shows on, mind mapping and Evernote, taking notes. And so, and my own note-taking sort of systems have evolved over the years, and the tools that I use to take notes have evolved over the years. But right now I'm using, I'm still mostly a Field Notes Evernote guy, right? I use Moleskine, Field Notes, Moleskine, Evernote. So I have this pocket Field Notes we talked about, I think, a couple of weeks ago, how much I love these little pocket Field Notes notebooks because they're small. And what's so nice about it, they fit right in my like back pocket or my breast pocket, and I can just take them out and make quick notes. But then what do? This is where I would always run into the problem before. I would have a fancy notebook and I would take notes, and then I would put it on my desk and not do anything with it. Well, as technology changes, so do processes. And so now I go to a meeting, say, and I take a couple of pages of notes. They have to-dos on them, et cetera, et cetera. I go back home, I put them out, I open the notebook on my desk, and I take a picture of it in OmniFocus or Evernote, either one of those tools. If it's a bunch of to-dos, then I take a picture of it in OmniFocus. And then that becomes a task right then and there that's going to remind me, not only is this something I have to do, but here is the reference material that I need to use it. Now, I used to get all caught up on like retyping and OCR, make sure that I could, is my handwriting good enough so that the computer can read my handwriting? And that's brain damage, right? All I need to know is I need to be able to look at those notes, because that will trigger enough for me to be able to get to work. And so that was a big lesson for me, is learning not to get caught up in the brain damage of technology, of the process, and realize that the tools I needed for me to work quickly and to get into my system quickly were right in front of me. So that was
simply just taking the to-do list or whatever the notes were from that meeting and taking a picture of it and getting it into your system.
Right. And if there are multiple to-dos on a single page, I'll take multiple pictures of that thing and create separate tasks. And that's right, each task is going to have the same picture attached to it. But that's okay, because I don't need to care. That's one of those things I just don't need to care about. All I know is when I get to that task, I'll have the important reference page visible.
Right.
So that's number one. It's just to streamline, getting the stuff that I write over the transom and into my trusted system. And now my OmniFocus is never empty. It's constantly giving me stuff to do. And I only have one Field Notes kind of at a time. And so that's actually not entirely true. I have a couple of Field Notes that I'm working through, but they all have a different purpose. And so, I have a Field Notes notebook here that is just dedicated to notes on a book that I'm writing. And so, ideas or concepts or sketches or pictures, it's just kind of the brain dump for only the book stuff. And then I have another one that's just my daily sort of to-dos and note-taking. When I'm finished with a Field Notes, I do something that maybe, this is an area where I may not need to do this much longer, but it's my inner sense of completionism that I can't quite shake. I do take a picture of every single page in a finished Evernote notebook, and then I turn it over and take a picture of the back, so the front and back, for my Field Notes notebooks, and I save the entire notebook as a PDF. And so, I don't know. I don't know if I really need to do that. I rarely go back to those and look through them, but it has, on occasion, it has happened where, I need to remember something that happened in a certain date range, and all of these Field Notes are dated. So I know when I was writing in these Field Notes. If somebody comes back and says, hey, you were at this meeting on March 15th, and, do you remember an outcome? I can go back to the Field Notes and see. Yeah. Pretty rare.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know that a lot of times people that I talk to, there is a fear that they're forgetting something. So, like they didn't get everything captured. And so do you feel like this solves that fear?
Well, this just being able to get the notes into a trusted system, that doesn't necessarily address the fear, right? The fear comes when you aren't confident in your ability to take good notes in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, that's a very different problem. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, when you misattribute the fear, then you're addressing only a symptom, right? The symptom that you're addressing is, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm forgetting something. I better get my notes into the computer, or I better get, the tasks that I remember into the computer. But that doesn't go back and address the fact that you're not taking good notes and you don't have a very good memory. And the things you do remember are the things that you were hyper-focusing on at the time, which probably skews the weight of the meeting for you. Your memory of the meeting is likely not what really needed to be remembered about the meeting. And so I think that's the first step, is figuring out, are you a good note taker? And there are some really good videos on Khan Academy that might be worth kind of reviewing, just some very basic, like, how do you take notes in a college classroom? Let's review Oxford outlining or Harvard outlining. Let's review mind mapping again. We can post a link to our mind mapping episode we did some time back. Let's focus on the rudimentary skill of pen to paper before we get to, entering data into a computer.
That is fantastic. I think that distinction is really important. I mean, I think that's really important. The note taking, are you confident in what you're writing down? So if you're hyper focusing or you aren't getting everything down in a meeting, then what's your suggestion on that? Like, how do you improve that?
Here, there's so there's a crutch. I'm going to talk to you about a technological crutch, and that is the Live Scribe. Have we talked about the Live Scribe? I don't think we have.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so the Live Scribe is a digital pen.
I think we have. Yeah.
It's an analog pen with a significant digital component. And I've thought about the Live Scribe for a bit, and I've been playing with it lately. They have advanced it a lot. So you buy this pen. There are 3 different models. They all have slightly different features, which is really confusing because the feature differential is not that big, and yet they have 3 different models. And there's just one pen that does everything, and you pay for it. It makes me crazy that there's so many choices. So anyway, you pick up a Live Scribe pen, and the idea is you get on this paper. It's custom paper. It's free. You can print out the paper from their website, or you can buy Live Scribe journals that you can use. But so you get this special paper, and when you turn on the Live Scribe, it remembers. It's like it has a little camera in the tip, so you're writing with real ink, right? But the pen is recording your strokes. So then,
it's amazing,
right? So then, when you go back to your computer or your iPad, you can sync your notes with your computer, and you can do really cool things. Right? There's all your notes. They have a Moleskine Live Scribe. If you're a Moleskine guy, similar to the Evernote Moleskine journal, they have a Live Scribe Moleskine journal. They have, Note Shelf is a very popular note on the iPad, so you can take your notes with your Live Scribe and sync them to your a couple of different apps on the iPad, including Live Scribe's Live Scribe Plus app. You can do cool things like pencasts. So you can actually rebroadcast your note-taking session to yourself with audio, right? So you can watch the strokes appear on the screen as you were taking notes. And this is the thing I wanted to mention, the technological crutch, right? If you really don't trust yourself, if you really feel like if you're somebody who is in a lot of meetings and you have a lot of details that are constantly flying at you, you may want to consider this Live Scribe pen, because you can record
I was
audio,
going to say,
right?
Then you can go back and listen to it.
And what's really lovely about it is you can go back by timestamp, so you can be on the note page and on the computer, and you can say, I want to go back to this point in the meeting and start playing the audio from that point in the meeting when you were taking notes on the page at that point. So you can see maybe what you missed. So for going to, heading off to college, for somebody who deals with a lot of just audio meetings, where there's just a lot of information coming at you, this is a really interesting way to tackle that from a technological perspective.
Well, and gosh, not only college, but I mean, in any profession that you're meeting a lot of different people, or, I mean, even if you just are meeting one person one-on-one, or your supervisor or boss, to be able to have that recording. Now, I assume you have to ask for permission and make sure that the other people know that you're recording it, right?
I think that's a best practice.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it is generally for personal use. I don't know how, I don't know if anybody has ever tested that in the courts, but
still, and
that's
the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, and the Live Scribe pens are not discreet. I mean, they're obviously Live Scribe pens. I think there's even a little light on them. Okay, so the Big Daddy, the Live Scribe 3 Smart Pen, is $149.95. You can get like sets, packages of, prints and refills and all that kind of a thing. The Wi-Fi smart pens, the ones that connect wirelessly, are $249. So they get a little bit more expensive. They have the Echo line, which is only 2 gigabytes of memory, which is $119. So it's, between $120 and $250, depending on what you get. And the sets you can get, notebook paper, and sometimes when you buy a set, you get a bunch of free paper. And so there are a lot of different packages you can get. So there are some good options there. I think it's worth checking out if you deal with this issue in particular. I think it's worth checking out.
I definitely, I'm going to be recommending that I know a couple of people that would find this interesting.
It's pretty cool. Now, I did want to talk about I want to change gears a little bit, because the other thing that I would struggle with is when I would have to read stuff, like I was reading books, business books, things like that. And, I'm a huge lover of audiobooks and ebooks. I love both of these things. I have many, many of them. And I think I told you I bought a Kindle, right? Did I tell you I bought a Kindle?
No.
I did. I bought a Kindle. It's a Kindle Paperwhite. And I bought it because I'd been reading so much on my iPad. And I read a lot before bed, right? So I climb in bed and I grab my iPad. But I had started reading so much of the research that says, you know what? Part of the reason you're not sleeping very well is because you're holding up the blue light from your tablet screen. That light, that LED light stimulates your brain in a way. I mean, it's one of those things that it increases the sort of cortisol production. I think that's the way it works. Increases or decreases. I think it increases cortisol production, which is what wakes you up. And so part of the reason you have trouble going to sleep is that you're staring at a computer screen right before bed. So, so the recommendation is, we love ebooks, but you want to get one that does not have a backlight on it, right? And so I picked up the Kindle Paperwhite. The Kindle Paperwhite it looks just like a Kindle. It's a touch screen, pretty responsive. It's not the most current version. I got it on the refurb store, but I love it because I can turn off the light completely. And one of the nice things about the Paperwhite in particular, the current generation Kindles, they have lights, but they're not backlights, right? They're essentially front lights. It's a different kind of technology of lighting, so it doesn't like blast your eyes out.
But you can still see it.
You can still see it in a dim room. So anyway, I've been looking a lot at this. And one of the things that they have with Kindle, now that Amazon owns Audible, I've been a member of Audible for how many? I don't know how many. I've got hundreds of Audible books in my Audible library. They have this new thing called Whisper Sync for audio, right? So you can buy a book, or, in my case, I subscribe to a book, or I subscribe to Audible. I get 2 books a month. Or if I'm in the Kindle store, I can buy a book. And there's an option on up to, I think, 45,000 titles available now, where you can add the other format for just a couple of dollars more to your order. So let's say I just finished a book by Ron Friedman, a psychologist writing about the best place to work in the world. So I bought that book on Kindle, and for like $3 more, I added the audiobook. Now, no matter if I can get in my car, I can turn on the audiobook. I can get out of the car, come home, sit down on the couch, and pick up my Kindle, and it knows exactly where I am in the book. It syncs position between audio and but the real benefit for me is in the ability to change formats for learning. If there's something I really need to learn and I hear it on audio, I can now go right back to the Kindle version of the book, and I can find that position very, very quickly, and I can reread it. Right? I can highlight it. I can make notes, which I find so useful in the book. Now, the next edition, or the next step here, is what Amazon calls immersion reading. If you're on one of the iOS apps for Kindle or the Kindle Android or Fire tablet version of the Kindle Reader, they have immersion reading, where if you have both the audiobook and the Kindle Reader book, you can actually read along. So you're actually looking at the text, and it's being highlighted as the narrator is reading the book to you.
Oh, cool!
So now we're triggering both of those learning modes, right? Now we're triggering both the oral learner and this more of the visual learner at the same time, and I find that super, super useful when I'm trying to study something.
Yeah,
having that repetition of signals really useful. So those are the two things that I wanted to share about some of the systems that I'm kind of using right now in order to cement stuff I have to learn and get them into my trusted system.
I like it.
Useful?
Very good. Very useful.
Good.
And new. Like, I didn't know about that pen, and I didn't know what you were just talking about with that being able to combine both the visual and the audio. It's awesome.
It makes me really sad because I love, I'm a lover of iBook, or of the iBooks tool and the iBooks formatted books. They're so much more beautiful than Kindle books. They're easier on the eyes to read, but reading at night, and I found I'd rather sleep than have a beautiful reading experience. Kindle is just awash at sea with typography on their electronic reading devices. I don't know why they can't figure that. Hire somebody good and just make it right, Kindle. Anyway, so that's all I got.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Well, thank
you. Very good stuff.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.